I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Stigma. Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Kez, there's some unicorns, there's another unicorn here. Together that makes Kez and unicorns. We're off to a good start. Today we are in Unicorn Corner, so dubbed by myself because it is my safe space, and Unicorn Corner is where we talk about all things mental health with a big push on trying to stop stigma around mental health disorders and invisible illnesses, because that's my life. We're going to talk about mental health and I'm going to do my makeup because that makes no sense. Like, none. But you know what? I like alliteration. Mental health. I like makeup. Mental health, makeup. They work together. We combine them. This is what we got. Makeup and mental health Mondays. Cosmic. This is Cosmic. She is today's featured unicorn because they are just as important to this channel as I am, because these unicorns have helped me through some very tough times. Okay, so I'm not going to talk you through all of the makeup pieces that I'm going to use, but I have some new makeup pieces with me today, so exciting. I don't wear foundation. Like, I can't remember the last time I wore foundation, and yet I got me a foundation.
Oh my god!
I'm just as surprised as you are. In this video, I'm not going to bore you with my story. I'll link that up here if you want to check that out. It's a good intro into me.
My Twitter bio also has my main mental health tags, but I have also suffered through sexual assault and rape as well as physical and emotional abuse.
So welcome to the fun house. There was a show, right? And they used to it's a real wacky show.
It's wacky, it's fun, it's crazy, it's outrageous! Fun house, a whole lot of fun, prizes to be won.
You've really gotta hate yourself sometimes. I don't know. I'm gonna start doing my makeup. New products have confused me. I don't know what I'm doing. I've legit used the same products on my face for a decade. And this is scary. It scares me. Trigger warning. We're going to talk about mental health stuff. I haven't really picked a topic as such because I kind of just want to talk a bit more about my general view on mental health and society and communities and things like that, so that you get a bit of an idea where I'm coming from. So my skin is disgusting right now. That's what malnutrition will do to you. I'm really not sure about this primer, but what you're going to do. If you clicked for some reason and actually thinking about maybe you clicked for the makeup and you're not really wanting to get involved in a big mental health topic, that's fine. I have other content too. I wear wigs, a lot of wigs. I have a lot of wigs. I love wigs. I feel like there's a metaphor in there somewhere. Okay, Gabby Hannah, step away. So if you fancy, watching something a bit more fun, you can head over to my Kawaii Corner playlist, which is linked up here, which is fun stuff. It's where we, try and smile and take a bit of time out to stop thinking about, how messed up our society really is. Okay, where to start? just why not? Okay. What am I doing? I kind of want to talk about stigma around mental health. So, for example, breaking new stuff. It was scary. It was touch and go for a while, but I got it out. We're good. Okay. Obviously, most of what I say is going to be very reflective the way mental health is positioned in the UK, because I live in good old England. So I tried to get away twice. Spent 4 years living outside of the UK, and I came back and Brexit happened. I don't know how. I want I wanna. Do 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 do. I wanna. Dun, 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 dun. Can we just
2 hours later.
a cushion for a queen? That's better. We got there in the end. Obviously, there are mental health disorders out there, and there are mental health disorders that are more stigmatized than others. Suffering with two of the most stigmatized mental health disorders, I'm using foundation, guys. I don't know how this is going to go. Forgive me. I don't even know if it's going to be the right colour. I don't know what coverage is meant to be, so just draw on my face instead. Oh, like it is unfortunately a common thing that mental health, there are going to be ones that are more stigmatized than others. Like, I'm not going to give you a kind of history lesson or, you know, a mental health lesson as such, but I do hope that you might be able to leave this video thinking maybe from a different view. Okay, I'm understanding the love of foundation right now. It's a beautiful thing. So, like, there is a ton of mental health diseases out there, and there are a ton of ones that seem to be generally understood and accepted, and others that are not accepted and are incredibly stigmatized against. If you want to gain some insight into what it's like to be diagnosed with a stigmatized mental health disorder, and for you to feel ready to tell your friends, watch this video. I filmed this. This is a very raw reaction video that I told a friend that I had BPD, and well, that happened, so you can watch that. It saddens me a lot. So just not to give you guys an entire backstory again, because as I said, I've already done that, but I grew up in a single parent household. My dad left before I really had a relationship with him, and my mum raised me and my brother. My mum, she had struggles, and they got particularly bad after my dad left, and she, I don't know how she did it, was a psychiatric nurse, ironically, and she suffered herself from very extreme depression. She also developed an eating disorder. I guess a lot of the mental I'm just looking at myself like, what? This is how I look. Do you like it? Do you like the finished look? Yeah, we good? Awesome. I'm sorry, I use humour as a coping mechanism, so I'm sorry, like, this is quite difficult. My mum suffered from extreme depression. She had issues with food. I would say she had disordered eating more than anything else from what I remember. And she had very big alcohol problems. She tried to kill herself, I think the first time I was about 12 or 13. She survived, yay. And then when my brother turned 18, my brother is 3 years older than me. When my brother turned 18, she tried again. And after that, she agreed to go into a psychiatric hospital for treatment. And she was given ECT and I don't know, other stuff. And in February of that year, she committed suicide while on a psychiatric ward. Never going to get over that. So I have lived my whole life, well, since then, knowing that, you know, my mum had severe struggles, and unfortunately at the time, even though it wasn't that long ago, at the time mental health was not something that people talked about, even though she went into it for a job. And it was at a time, and I can attest to this, that, you know, people were very much like, well, what have you got to be depressed about? Get over it. And I know that my mum had counselling herself, because I remember that. There's a lot of stuff that happened around the time of her death that I thought I remembered, but years after in therapy I realised I don't. There are a lot of gaps there. A common trait of borderline personality disorder is dissociation. Now, nowhere near the same type of dissociation that someone with DID has. Everyone dissociates at times when you're probably not thinking about it. Some good examples are when you're driving and suddenly you're there, or you might not even be driving, you might be a passenger and you just like zone out and suddenly you're there and you're like, where have the past 20 minutes gone? Or you get home and you're watching something on TV and it ends and you're like, what? Or you're reading a book and suddenly you realize like half an hour's gone by and you've been reading the same page and you have no idea what it actually says. So they are common types of dissociation, and if you have borderline personality disorder, you may or may not dissociate. It's not a trait that you absolutely have to have, but it is a trait that can happen. And I have dissociated, especially around the time my mum died, because it was very traumatic, and the way that my family dealt with the situation wasn't good. You know, I wasn't given counselling. I wasn't really allowed to talk about it. My family lied about a lot of it, and it was just all kinds of bad. So my mum, I grew up, you know, my mum was struggling, and after my mum died I moved in with my uncle, and I didn't really get to grieve because my family were always very much like, just get on with it, like it is what it is. So I feel very strongly that, you know, my mum suffered because she was living in a time where people didn't really take it seriously, and even though she had friends that were willing to listen, especially friends that she worked with, she just didn't feel like she could get the help and support that she needed, and she felt very alone, and it's sad, and it makes me sad to think that that happens. And so I've always been very I don't like stigma. And I remember once someone that I didn't really know was talking to me, and they brought my mum up and they were like, yeah, because your mum died, right, of cancer. And I was like, she what? What did you just say? What? What? And I made it very clear then and there that she did not die of cancer. She committed suicide, and that was that. But as I said, stigma sucks. And okay, I want to know something. Okay, if you're watching this, if you're struggling, or if you have a mental health disorder, have you ever had someone say to you,
mental health is bullshit, it's not real?
Because it upsets me so much knowing that there are still people that are so ignorant out there that they say things like that to people struggling. I've actually had people, I'll do a different video talking about some experiences that I had from the NHS psychiatric system directly, but this,
Mental health doesn't exist forever.
how can there be people that are, how can there still be people who are so
2 hours later.
who are so ignorant that they would turn around to someone suffering with a mental health illness and say,
No, that doesn't exist.
I had this big thing that people shouldn't hide behind a diagnosis, and I strongly believe that. And I did find when I was in a psychiatric hospital for a while, I did find that a lot of people seemed to hide behind their label. You know, they would say,
Hi, I'm Kez, BPD anorexic.
and I've always been a bit like, well, yes, like suffering from a mental health disorder, like yes, I get that, but you can't hide behind it, because at the end of the day, you still need to be responsible for your behavior, for the things that you do. So, for example, someone with BPD, someone like me, I am terrified. I have a very, very bad fear of abandonment. Major. And I have a lot of problems with relationships and things that don't seem like, that a lot of people would be like, why are you even thinking about that? It feels like the end of the world. You know, it's like, for example, someone dislikes a video. Like, say you've got your YouTube video, someone dislikes it, and you're like, oh, I got one dislike, and that's fine. to me, I'm like, one person disliked it. Like, why? Why did they dislike it? Like, is it me? Like, do I come across as a horrible person? Like, do they hate me? Do they have something against me? Oh my God, like, why would they do this? Like, if they don't like my video, why are they just disliking it? Why not watch it and actually give me constructive criticism or feedback on what it is about it that you didn't like? Like, I don't know. And it sends me into a spiral. And I've lost a lot of friends as a result of things like that. I also, if someone kind of says that they might want to, I don't know, take some time for themselves, I'll automatically think that means that they're going to leave me forever and that I've done something wrong. And it sucks. It's not a nice way to live at all. And for someone to sort of invalidate it, like, the thing is that I've always had BPD. So I've only got diagnosed with it in the last couple of years, but it's a disorder that stems from childhood trauma, generally in your teens or early adulthood. So I've always had it, but getting the actual disorder diagnosed meant that I could actually start working on myself. You know, I could start trying to change the way I am, trying to learn how to control my emotions or not let my emotions run away with me, or start to, you know, really figure out where this fear of abandonment stems from and why I have problems with relationships and why I feel so worthless all the time. You know, it gives you a starting point. It validates you. It tells you, and I'm speaking for me, but it told me it's okay. This disorder happened because you lived the life that you lived. And it was traumatic. Because let's not forget, parent committed suicide. My other parent didn't show up to take care of me. I did find out stuff about that later. But also, all those years that my mum had an alcohol problem, that she had been incredibly depressed, that all, it comes together and it's going to affect you. And when I actually got my diagnosis, I felt like for the first time someone was saying, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that this happened to you. It's not your fault that you lived through the life that you did. And it's not your fault that you have developed this disorder. And it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. And to finally have that meant a lot to me. And unfortunately, borderline personality disorder is one of the most stigmatized mental health disorders there are. So while on the one hand, I was like, yay.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
On the other hand, I was like, oh, great, I've got that disorder. And I kind of thought that getting that diagnosis would help more than it did initially, because it's like, if you're not feeling well and you go to a doctor and they are like, you're fine, go home, and then you're still not feeling well, you go to a doctor again and they're like, no, you're fine, and you're still not feeling well. It's like, you're constantly like, why don't I feel well, and why can't the doctors find anything that's wrong with me? Like, I've got crazy headaches, or I'm suffering from really intense migraines and they won't go away, or I'm constantly feeling nauseous, or whatever. If you're suffering from something and you keep going to a doctor and they keep telling you you're fine, then you're going to sit there and be like, what is wrong with me? And for mental health, it is exactly the same. You go through your life constantly questioning, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why am I different? Why do I feel this way? Why do I react this way? And no one else seems to understand why. So when you eventually get a diagnosis, there is that relief because you're like, finally, at least it's been acknowledged and it's been validated that you have something wrong with you. It's like, you know, if you are, I don't know, let's throw cancer into the mix for a second. So like, if you are struggling with something and you go to the doctor and you keep going, and they find nothing, and then eventually you get told you have cancer. Getting told you have cancer is not nice, but at least now you can look at options, you can look at treatments, you can look at how to get better. Is there a way for you to get better? Do you need to have surgery? Do you need to have radiotherapy? Do you need to have chemotherapy? You know, what stage is it at? You know, all of these things, like as soon as you've found the diagnosis, you can do that. And it's exactly the same for mental health. If you are constantly trying to find out what's wrong with you and you can't, then it's going to make you more anxious, it's going to make things worse. And as soon as you get that diagnosis, whether it's the diagnosis that you want or not, at least you can start dealing with it. And I don't understand why there seems to be such a difference between illnesses that directly affect your brain and illnesses that affect your body. It's like with eating disorders, you know, they are psychiatric behavioral disorders, but people are like, oh, you know, I get it sometimes. I am a very small person. I used to be significantly bigger than I am now. And I'm a very small person. I'm 4'11". I can wear kids' clothes. You know, I will buy the smallest size of clothing and it will be too big. But because I'm such a small person, even though I'm extremely thin, you know, people I get people saying to me things like, oh, well, you don't look anorexic, because I don't look completely gaunt and like a skeleton. And this is one of like the most hurtful things ever, because all it does is it honestly, like, it just makes me say I have to starve myself more. And I know that makes no sense. And I understand it makes no sense. I understand everything. I have read so much on eating disorders, but I can't get that voice out of my head. So I'm trying to deal with it by doing this, I guess. But yeah, it's the same. So for someone to say mental health isn't real, it's totally real. And maybe think before you say that to someone, because if someone told you they had HIV or cancer, cancer is just the go-to, isn't it? Or, I don't know, Alzheimer's, or a heart condition, or anything, would you question them? Let's try a different eyeliner, shall we? Okay, that took ages, but we're going with it. We're on to mascara. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Stigma. Another thing that really gets to me, and I mean really gets to me, like, I cannot wrap my head around how this still happens, but it's when you're talking to someone, maybe someone you don't know, maybe someone at work, maybe you've had to make a phone call to deal with some mundane life crap, and you're struggling emotionally, you're not doing well, you struggle emotionally, you tell someone, and okay, this even happens, like with me, it happens with friends too, so I don't know about you, but I'll tell my friend how I'm feeling, and my friend like won't react at all, and then I'll be like, how could you not react? And they're like, because I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, and not reacting is the worst thing you can do for me, because I have this constant state of like, I'm not good enough, and I feel the need to be validated a lot. Like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's true. I do not have histrionic personality disorder. Just in case you don't know, when you're getting diagnosed with something like borderline personality disorder, you have to fit into enough boxes. So they basically have all these boxes and they tick which ones you fit into, and whichever ones you fit into, that decides what your diagnosis is. It can be multiples. A lot of people with BPD, for example, have NPD or HPD. It's histrionic personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder. This is not the same as just being a narcissist asshole. Like when you watch something and you're like, what a fucking narcissist. It's not the same. And actually that idea of what personality disorders are is very damaging to those of us with personality disorders, as proven in the video that I linked earlier by the way my friend responded when I said, yeah, I've been diagnosed with BPD. And they haven't spoken to me since, actually. But for me, I only tick enough boxes to be in BPD. So as I said, like, just between you and me, pretty much all of you are gonna tick some boxes. I personally believe that if you sat everyone down everyone on the planet down with a psychiatrist, they would find a problem. I don't know how I feel about that. I joke about it, but I think it's kind of true, and I don't really know what that has to say about the human race. We've made it to the year 2020 and everyone's fucked up. Yay! And I need unicorns to make me not want to die. Sorry, that was a bit black. I also have a very dark sense of humor, so I'm just gonna throw that out there at this point. But yeah, if I reach out to someone and they basically ignore me or say like, oh, I didn't know what to say or what to do, it's like, be there. Okay, again, if you're watching this and you know someone who is struggling with their mental health, yes, I'm using eyeliner as a mascara, deal with it, that's what I do. Between you and me, if you know someone who is struggling with their mental health, and you might know this person, but they might be a very close friend, they might just be someone on your Facebook, please don't report a post to Facebook. I want to believe that people that do that genuinely think that they're helping, and I can only talk for me and for people I know, but when you click that report comment worried about this person, worried about their mental health, all that does is make it worse. Number one, it's anonymous. Number two, when you receive that, for me, when I go on Facebook, when I open up my Facebook app and I have someone is worried about you, here's some help, it's not helpful. It's damaging. It hurts the hell out of me, because I think, if this person is worried, genuinely worried, why didn't they reach out to me? It makes me feel like this person just either doesn't want to see a post like that on their Facebook, in which case I wonder why they're friends with me on Facebook in the first place if they don't want to see posts that they need to report. Or two, it makes me think that they want to make themselves feel better, but they can't be bothered to take time out of their day. So they click that report thinking, I've done what I needed to do, that person will get some help. Now you might not know, you may be someone who has pressed that button and you might not know what happens. What happens is, you get a message from Facebook and you are not able to access your Facebook until you agree to be shown helplines and links to places that can help you, such as the Samaritans. Now, most people that suffer with mental health illness will already be very well aware of their crisis team. If you are not aware and you live in the UK, you will have a crisis team, a crisis helpline where you can call any time of the day if you are suffering and struggling. So if you press that button on Facebook, that person is forced to basically say, yes, I have something wrong with me. Thank you for helping. It doesn't help. It hurts. I cannot begin to describe to you how much it hurts. Especially because, is it not obvious that if you're worried about someone, talk to them, be there for them, send them a quick message, say hi. That could be enough. Literally saying hi could be enough to help someone. So please don't just click that button and think you're helping. And if you have clicked that button and you genuinely thought you were helping, as I said, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself and other people I've spoken to, which is not a whole load of people. But think about the fact that when you click that, that person is going to basically have to acknowledge and say, yes, I need help. And then be shown a bunch of useless helplines that they probably already know. And then they can go onto their Facebook. And then when they go onto their Facebook, they have no idea who reported that comment. So for me, I no longer feel like I can trust anyone on my Facebook, because I've made it very clear on my Facebook that the best way to be there for someone who's struggling mentally is to just be there. Tell them you love them, send them a message, send them a huggy emoji, anything. That's how you help someone. So now I go on my Facebook and I feel like I can't tell anyone anything because I don't know who's reporting my comments. And chances are that person that you're thinking about right now would feel the same. So please think about it before you do it. Think about just sending a message. Hey, I've not spoken to you for a while. Are you okay? I'm not saying the person will respond. Some people just don't respond. I know people that suffer with addiction. I know people that suffer with depression. I know people that suffer with a range of things. And sometimes they just won't reply. But I can pretty much guarantee that it will make them smile. So please think about it before you press that button. I'm going to put my lashes on and then I'll be back.
2 hours later.
Hi, this eyelash is having fun on its own, so we're gonna ignore it. If you have ever done that, I'm not trying to like make you feel bad if you've ever been someone that's pressed that button, but I am trying to maybe just help you see things in a slightly different way. Because if you feel desperate enough that you're putting something potentially worrying as your Facebook status, like, you are not in a good place. If someone's already not in a good place and you decide to do something that you, as I said, you may genuinely believe that you're being helpful, and I'm just trying to show you that maybe it's not as helpful as you might realize, because you might not know what actually happens. You might not know what Facebook does with that information. One thing that I worry about is someone reported one of my comments once, and the police turned up at my home because Facebook had reported it, which means that Facebook knew where I lived, which means that you can report something and you have no idea what Facebook might do with that. So yeah, I don't want to make you feel bad for doing something that you know, for trying to help, because that's the last thing that we want. We want people to be able to help. But I think it's important that you are just aware of how different methods affect people. And the Facebook one, it's so impersonal that it genuinely, I go a bit crazy when that happens to me. I take a screenshot of the message that I get from Facebook and I basically say, who did this? And no one has ever come forward, which just makes it even worse. Because if you're worried about someone, then be worried about them. And you don't need to hide that. In fact, it's nice knowing that there is someone that is worried. I mean, it's not because like I don't want people to be that worried about me that they feel that they need to do that. But at the same time, it's nice to know that I'm a consideration. But it's not nice not knowing who it is. It means I can't say thank you if they've helped me. And again, I know that one could argue that, well, isn't that the point? Like, it's just a good deed. You know, why can't you just see it as a good deed and it's anonymous and that's fine? You know, like when celebrities want to like donate money and do it privately so the world doesn't know. I think Keanu Reeves is the only one that does that, but he's a dude. But it doesn't make you feel loved and that people care. It makes you feel like you're ruining people's day, and who would want to feel like that, really? Who would want to feel like that? No one would want to feel like that. So I have no idea what I'm doing with this. This is new. So
2 hours later.
look at that. I have freckles. So I'm gonna go with a dark red matte lip, like a berry color. So yeah, like I just my hope here is more, you know, I haven't been talking about any specific issue. I've just been talking about sort of like stigma in general, and my hope here is that you might go away thinking from a slightly different perspective, or you might be someone like me and maybe you'll feel less alone. That's cliched as fuck, but, and yes, I know I have dry lips. That's what malnutrition will do for you. Once I'm dressed, I'll just say hi. Got my makeup all over. What? There. Makeup's just crayons and colouring pencils for adults. Anyway, so this is my final look. It's a bit random, but this is what I do, so yay. I've never worn this kind of colour on my lips before. I thought it was going to be slightly more red, and it's a bit more purple, but I like it. I'm not trying to like attack anyone. Like, as I said, if you have been that person that has clicked that Facebook notification or anything like that, like obviously if you think someone is in danger, like real danger, like if you think that someone is going to do something to harm themselves or someone else, you need to call 999 or whatever the emergency services number is. But in order to do that, obviously, like, people don't know people's addresses anymore. So the first thing that, in my opinion, you should do, reach out, try and speak to them. If you think there is a real danger, maybe then notify Facebook, because Facebook have all of our information, or do what you can. I have had, well, as I said, I've had welfare checks before. People have called the police on my behalf because they thought I was gonna do something to myself. So if you think that someone is in real danger, you need to call up the emergency services. They suck, welfare checks suck, but it's rather that than the other option. I look so white. The lighting is obviously making me look super duper white, so that's fun. This is the finished look. I just wanted to introduce some ideas about the stigma surrounding mental health and how it feels being someone that suffers with mental health illnesses that are stigmatized. Eating disorders are highly stigmatized. BPD is highly stigmatized. Most people think that if you have BPD, you're an evil person. You know, it's the same stigma, but to a lesser extent, that people with DID suffer from, where people go, oh, so you're gonna murder me? Like, it's just not okay. Like, stigma generally is not okay. And what I wanted to do with this video is give you a bit of insight into me, a bit of insight into my understanding of mental health, how it has affected me. And when I say affected, I don't necessarily mean because of my own. I also mean, you know, for example, what happened with my mum obviously makes you look at the world a little differently. So I hope that this was interesting. I hope it was useful. I hope you like the makeup. I'm kind of an e-girl, so because I pretty much exist only online because I don't ever leave my house. I know that's a common YouTuber trope, but I don't leave my house very often because I don't know, there's a lot physical issues, mental issues. It's if you liked the video, please do press the thumbs up button. Also, please do feel free to comment below. In fact, go ahead and do it. Comment. If there's a different perspective that I haven't considered, then please let me know. If there's anything that you want to add to any of the topics that I discussed, then obviously please do comment below. I am very interested in hearing your ideas. I'm very interested in starting a narrative, starting a discourse into mental health and how we can try and be more inclusive and understanding of everyone. And anything else you want to comment that down below. And I will see you in I'll either see you in my next video or I'll see you in my next makeup and mental health Mondays video, which won't be every Monday to start, but they'll be on a Monday. So thank you very much if you have stuck with me. There's some videos at the end, you know, if you have time, please do go check them out. I also have a mental health playlist, which is a playlist of other people talking about various mental health disorders that I have found interesting and educational, so you can go and look there on my profile. Thank you to Cosmic for being here. She's beautiful. She's starlight and sunshine. Anyway, thank you for being our featured unicorn. We always have a featured unicorn on this channel because it's Kez and unicorns, not just Kez. Arigatou gozaimasu to all of you. Big kiss. And keep on unicorning, because that's what we do. Anane, kawaii. And there'll be a little clip at the end of my finished look. Because, you know, you're still here. Bye!